What is up, everyone? Welcome to Reality Room Spoilers with Paul. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Big Brother Over the Top. As you guys know, new season just started a few days ago, so we're just going to jump right into it on what's been happening. Okay, so first let's just jump right into the HOH because, it's been the first couple of days. I'll talk about how the alliances have been forming. But first, let's talk about who the HOH is because we need to know who has the power right now. So the HOH competition ended up being a little different than what we're used to from Big Brother, and it's a new type of season, and they're really representing that it's a new type of season. And it was like, basically what happened was one person got this thing called a bug, and that person could not be HOH, and then each house guest had to pass it to another player, basically until they couldn't, until the last person, and that last person was HOH. And they did this throughout the span of I think a little over a day, I believe it was. So it was very interesting to see who people picked, although I was a little disappointed because it looks like a lot of people didn't want to be HOH. There was volunteers. I know Chrissy volunteered to take the bug from Neely at some points, and there was a lot of people just volunteering. Although the important part is that at the end of the competition, it seems that Alex, Whitney, Monte, and Shane seem to form not like an alliance, but like an understanding for the week. They basically agree that they're going to give the HOH to Monte. And it was basically the ones that were left were, I believe, Morgan had it over the night. I think it was the people that were left were Whitney, Jason, Alex, Cornbread, and Monte. So I believe it was those 5 people that were left. And so basically what happened is I believe Morgan gave it to Cornbread, and then they all agreed, the 4 of them, and also their guy alliance, which I'll bring up later. They decided to go after Jason for the week. So Cornbread, who's in this guy alliance, which I'll mention later, decides to give the bug to Jason, and Jason's kind of expecting it. So then Jason gives it out to, I believe he gives it to Whitney. Then Whitney gives it to Alex, and so Monte is the HOH. So that's how it ends up. The first few people kind of just volunteered mostly, or were just kind of like, well, I'm giving it to you because you're in the room. It wasn't really a lot of strategizing about who to give the bug to until the last 5, and those were the last 5. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how the alliances are forming right now. Okay, so first off, we have this Guys Alliance, and we're pretty used to Guys Alliances at this point in Big Brother. We're used to Big Brother 12 Guy Alliance. There was a pretty big Guy Alliance back in the early seasons, of course. And, guys tend to stick together early on, and, they don't usually last, but, sometimes they do. This might be the season that they do, but we'll see what happens. So the Guy Alliance right now is Monte, Shane, Cornbread, and Scott. So it's those 4 that are working together at this point. And so we can expect that those 3 will be safe from the block, at least from Monte putting them on the block. Okay, so along with that alliance, as I said before during the competition, Whitney and Alex kind of make an agreement with Shane and Monte to give Monte the HOH. So it looks like those 2 are also going to be safe for the block. And if you guys look down below, you already know who's on the block, but I'll explain how we got there. Okay, so at first, we also have, before the HOH even finished, another alliance formed. There was the OTT Jamboree, and this was between Jason, Chrissy, Justin, Shelby, and Scott. So Scott seems to be at least widening his wings out a little bit, although some people are kind of catching on to what he's selling, and I'll get into that a little later too. It seems like I'm getting into a lot of things later. But yeah, so that's a 5-person alliance that formed, and as I believe a few people said in their opening video that they showed to us a few days before the feed started, they said that they wanted to start an alliance with the freaks in the house. So I guess, well, not the freaks, but kind of like the odd ones out. I feel like that's what this alliance is, like the odd ones out. And I like most of the people in this alliance at this point, although we'll see what happens with it. So along with that alliance, the sisters are obviously kind of working together as well. Shelby seems to be trying to get in with the girls, trying to make sure that she's good with them. Although Shelby's kind of suspecting that she's going on the block this week. Of course, you guys know that does not end up being the case. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Monte's head. So Monte and his guys alliance, along with Whitney and Alex, they like, listen, we should target Jason this week. Well, less so Alex on that part of it, but they say they want to target Jason this week to get him out because he's a vet. He knows the game and he knows what he's doing, and it's just an easy week. He doesn't think people will be mad at him if he does that, which honestly, if you ask me, is actually it's not a bad move. Like, listen, I love Jason. I fucking love Jason, but it's not a bad move on Monty's part. Like, you have to give him credit. You can say, oh, I hate Monty for this, for X, Y, and Z, and that's fine. You can hate him. I don't like him either. He seems like a dumber Caleb, you know? And, you know, Caleb kind of, whatever. Like a dumber Caleb. I don't know. He's just it just doesn't seem like he has a good personality. I don't know. Maybe we'll like him later on. Who knows? But as of right now, it doesn't seem like he's too popular. But yeah, so Monte is going after Jason. And like I said, not a bad move. Not a bad move. But he has to figure out who he wants to put on the block against him. And he's kind of going through the motion in his head. He at first thinks he wants to put Chrissy on the block against him because they seem to be very close. By the way, Jason and Chrissy also form a Final Two deal. So no one knows obviously about that. But if those two were to be on the block together, that would be pretty ironic because of their Final Two deal, which was made very early on, I feel. But, you know, we'll see what happens with that if they both stay in the game. So he's considering Chrissy just because she seems a little loud or rambunctious. And some Cornbread was kind of making the point, like, listen, she'll kind of blow up if we do that. And that might be good because then she'll be the target for next week. But then I think Monty gets in his head, well, maybe if she blows up, it'll turn people off. And maybe they'll want to go after her, like vote her out instead of Jason. And I'm pretty sure that's what goes through his head. And so another person, and so he decides not to put Chrissy on the block. So he also considers Shelby, but he doesn't put Shelby on the block because he feels that she's very emotional and that she would go kind of crazy if she was put on the block, which is possible. By the way, I said this in our little video that we did, the cast analysis, that Shelby would kind of be like a Cassandra. I'm seeing that she is kind of a little bit like Cassandra from BB Can 4, so I'm pretty happy about that, and I'm pretty excited. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with Shelby. So he decides not to put Shelby on the block, but then they bring up Danielle. And honestly, I don't really know the reason why they're putting Danielle up. I think they're just putting her up as a pawn. Also, Monte sees Danielle and Shane have like a thing together. Like they're kind of forming a sort of showmance. I'm not entirely sure. At least Shane thinks they're forming a showmance. He says like, oh, listen, I have her in my ear, yada, yada. I'm just sitting there like, all right, Shane, whatever you say. It's day fucking 5. And, you know, Monty's going off about how everyone in the house is floaters, and I'm just like, okay, it's day 5, relax. Maybe they are floaters, I don't know. They could all be floaters, but we don't know right now. And, I don't know, I just thought it was really dumb. But anyway, back to the nominations. So he does decide to nominate Jason and Danielle. And honestly, through the house's perspective, I think these are both pretty big targets. Jason obviously is the vet, but he also has his alliance. Danielle doesn't seem to have a very set crew in the house right now, so it's very surprising. Alex, who I said before was working with Whitney and Monte and all them, actually talked right before the nomination saying, yeah, out of those two, I would rather Danielle go home. And I'm sitting there like, well, I mean, Danielle over Jason? I mean, I don't think everything's as set in stone as we think it is. Also, we have America's nomination, and it looks like everyone's voting for Cornbread. Everybody. They never cared. Bye, Cornbread. Bye, because we never cared about you. So bye, Cornbread. Paul, I'm still doing a Paul impression, even though BB18's done. But looks like Cornbread's going to be the third nominee, and that's going to throw a monkey wrench in their plans, I feel. I don't know if Cornbread... To be honest, I don't know who would go home out of the 3 of them. I think there's arguments for all 3 of them to go home, and we'll see what the OTT Jamboree wants to do. We'll see what the Guy Alliance wants to do, and we'll see what the girls want to do, because a lot of the girls seem to be up in the air about who they want to vote out, or at least they're telling Monte that they'll vote out Jason. But I think if Alex gets in their ear, maybe they'll consider getting Danielle out, because if Alex wants them out, maybe they will agree with her. Who knows? Again, it's still very early on in the week. The nominations just happened literally probably about an hour or two before this video came out. I was expecting there to be some sort of like conflict right after nominations, but everyone is pretty cool. You had Danielle just cry a little bit. You had Jason in the backyard just smoking with Neely and Scott. By the way, as I mentioned before, a lot of people are seeing through Scott's bullshit right now. A lot of people are seeing right through his game. They're saying, listen, the OTT Jamboree are like, well, Scott's not giving us any information, so that must mean that he's probably with Monte's group, and that's because, well, he is with Monte's group. So I don't know where Scott's going to go, but I really think he's in trouble, because it looks like he might get caught playing both sides. We've seen players do this before. We'll see if he can play it off in the proper way in the next few weeks, because he's going to have to pick eventually. So we'll see how that works. But it seems like he's playing both sides, but I think OTT Jamboree sees that he's doing that. So also Morgan's kind of working with Monte too. Seems like everyone's just going to Monte right now, because obviously it's the first week. They want to make sure they're safe. And it's really the first 2 weeks in Big Brother that everyone knows you have to survive in order to make it out of there. So regarding the veto competition, we don't know the players who are picked yet. If there is a third nominee, and I don't know when the nominee will be named, but if there is a third, but when the America's nominee is put on the block, I'm sure they'll pick 2 people at random. They'll probably do it very similar to how they did the roadkill competition in BB18. They'll pick 2 names, and if they pick one of the people on the block, then they'll probably get to pick another player. They'll probably get to pick the player. So that's probably how I imagine the veto is going to go. I'm expecting the veto to be something different, because we had the HOH be very different, and I'm expecting the veto to go a similar direction to how the HOH went. Let me know what you guys think below about that. I'm a little iffy about the little safety nominations that they've been doing so far, with like the necklaces and everything going green. It's pretty anticlimactic. It doesn't seem like people care too much. And even after nominations were over, it seemed like people weren't really like caring about who the nominees were. They weren't giving them hugs or anything. Like Jason went back in the backyard, and most people just left him by himself, and only like 1 or 2 people like came up to Danielle. And I don't know. It just seems like I think the other way that they do it, like on the couches in the original in the real Big Brother, and regular Big Brother seasons are like, I think it's better, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see that. I think they're just trying stuff new right now, seeing what works, what doesn't. The whole pushing of the button thing, I don't know. It's just all fucking bizarre to me. Like, don't even ask me. I think it's dumb as fuck. But it's still early, so maybe I'll like it later. You know, maybe because it makes people sweat a little bit, which is appreciative. Because it really shows people's true colors, so that's interesting. So yeah, so I'm gonna end the video right there. So yeah, we have them 2 on the block. It looks like Jason, out of the 2 of them, would be going home unless he wins veto. I'm not entirely sure, but if Cornbread's on the block, that will definitely throw a monkey. They'll definitely throw a monkey wrench in their plans, and we'll have to see who goes home at that point. Because I'm pretty sure once the third nominee is put into place, everything's not going to be as set in stone as it was before. But again, let me know if you guys agree with that down below. And I know you guys probably thinking, I want Cornbread out. I understand. Try to look at it objectively through the house guest's lens. Who do you think they would get out? Okay? And maybe it is Cornbread. Maybe it's Jason, or maybe they do a big flip and go against Danielle. Who knows? Maybe one of them wins veto and someone else goes up. It's going to be very interesting no matter what. Personally, I would have rather Shane go up than Cornbread. Just me personally, because I think it would be good to get a showmance on the block very early on. So Shane and Danielle, if they are a showmance, which it's looking like they are, I would prefer Shane up on the block rather than Cornbread. I feel like Cornbread's going to be a big target no matter what, because I feel like he makes himself a target. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Again, let me know what you guys think below. This has been Reality Room Spoilers with Paul, bringing you the latest update on BBOTT. We'll be doing a few videos a week on this. Until next time, guys, peace.